Hello everyone, it's July 12th, 2023, and it's This Week in Comics. Hello everyone, it's Dustin Dry with the Two Bird Stone at Two Bird Stone 815. It's This Week in Comics. We have so many comics to cover this week. Let's dive right in. Alrighty, first up we have Night Terrors First Blood and Night Terrors #1 by Josh Williams. Now originally I wasn't going to cover this miniseries, and I will touch on some of the additional issues, but I will review the main series. In it, Insomnia is looking for the Nightmare Stone. He's an Arkham patient who is affected by the Lazarus Reign. He goes into the dreams of Dr. Destiny and actually ends up murdering him while looking for the Dreamstone / Nightmare Stone. He puts the entire world into a slumber except for Deadman and Zatanna. Deadman actually takes over Bruce's body and fights through and fights Insomnia. He then enters Insomnia's body, which is where we actually get his backstory. By the end of the issue, Deadman decides to resurrect the original Sandman, Wesley Dodds. Overall, I'd give the start of this series a 7.25 out of 10. Definitely check it out. It's not as bad as some of the press has been. Night Terrors #1 by Jeremy Adams, Eduardo Pansica, Julio Ferreira, and Luis Guerrero. We also have the first part of Sinestro, Shards of the Looking Glass by Alex Segura, Mario Fox Fucili, and Prasad Rad. The Green Lantern aspect of this story is a 6 out of 10. It's just a standard Night Terrors story with another round of great art. However, the story involving Sinestro is definitely a 7.5 out of 10, and it's cool to see what the villain of Green Lantern kind of dreams of now that he's powerless. Check this issue out if you're a Sinestro fan. If you're a Green Lantern fan, you can probably skip it. Night Terrors Shazam #1 by Mark Waid, Roger Cruz, Wellington Diaz, and Arif Prianto. The Shazam Night Terror is centered on Mary and not on Billy Batson. The art in this is fantastic, but the story is okay and just okay, and that can be a problem with tie-in issues to big events. Last week I really enjoyed the Poison Ivy and the Joker one, but this week the Green Lantern one and the Shazam one are a little bit weaker. Maybe I find the Night Terrors of the villains more interesting. Overall, Shazam Night Terrors #1, 6 out of 10. Night Terrors Zatanna #1 by Dennis Culver, Rain Barreto, and David Baldeon. In it, Zatanna must protect Detective Chimp and Wonder Woman, so she summons a champion, bringing her Robot Man from the Doom Patrol. However, with a twist of the knife, Robot Man actually becomes Rustbringer and part of the Night Terrors. This is actually a really fun and consequential issue to the whole Night Terrors narrative. And with all the Night Terrors, the art in it is again fantastic. Night Terrors Zatanna #1 is an 8 out of 10. Definitely check it out. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Stranger Things #1 by Cameron Chittick, Pharaoh Pei, and Sophie Dodgson. In it, the Hawkins kids are in New York City and they run into some demon dogs, as well as the turtles. The two groups actually agreed to team up to take down Baxter Stockman, who clearly has found some of the demon dogs. However, at the end of the issue, they walk right into a trap. This is actually a really fun and logical mashup of two different properties, and I love that the turtles are in their red bandanas. Ninja Turtles Stranger Things, 8 out of 10. The Hunger in the Dusk #1 by G. Willow Wilson, Chris Wildgoose, and Musaki. This is an all-new fictional realm of orcs and humans. However, the orcs and the humans are attacked by the Vanguard. Troth and Terra, two orcs, arrive with their clan to make an alliance with the group known as the Last Men, one of the smallest regiments of humanity. At the meeting, the Vanguard do attack. Now, I love G. Willow Wilson. This is an awesome entry point into a brand new world. It's full-on high fantasy action with plenty of political and romantic subplots. I definitely would suggest checking it out. The Hunger in the Dusk #1, an 8.5 out of 10. Definitely check out this issue. World's Finest Teen Titans #1 by Mark Waid, Emanuela Lupacchino, and Jordi Belair. This is a modern retelling of the Teen Titans forming in the modern times. In it, Roy wants to be famous using drones and camera phones to record all of their antics, while Robin, even as the leader, hasn't quite revealed his true identity yet. There are so many fun subplots going on in this series. It's so much fun. It's beyond intriguing. I would give World's Finest Teen Titans #1 is an 8.5 out of 10. Definitely check it out this week. What If Dark Loki #1 by Walter Simonson, Scott Eaton, Cam Smith, and Scott Hanna. Our final #1, where Loki was unworthy to carry the hammer, and so was this comic. It's a 5.5 out of 10. I'm not delving any farther into it. Alrighty, let's run through the rest of our series. Batman and the Scooby-Doo Mysteries number 10. A high seas adventure involving Batman, Mystery Inc., Black Manta. This series is always inconsequential. Another 6 out of 10. Superman Lost number 5. Superman meets Hope, who is a Green Lantern but doesn't know what the ring means. Still on that planet, millions and millions and millions of light years away, Skemmy figures out a way for Clark to make his way home. However, upon discovery, Hope ends up killing Skemmy. While back on Earth in the current timeline, Lois uses the lasso of truth on Clark to show him that this is all real. Another quality issue, 8 out of 10. Danger Street number 7. In this series, pieces continue to move into place as the back half of the story kicks off and our alliances are starting to form. It's a 7.5 out of 10. Scarlet Witch number 6. A fairly standard main story that's boosted by the return of Magneto on the final page. It's a 7 out of 10. Unstoppable Doom Patrol number 4. This is more of an interlude issue, especially with them extending the series from 6 issues to 7. We check in with the psyche of each member of the team and learn that Jane wants out, but the Chief is in control. Unstoppable Doom Patrol number 4 is an 8 out of 10. Loki number 2. Loki continues to look for the missing parts of the ship, one part of which has definitely corrupted the dwarves. However, I found this to be a very standard issue and very much less interesting than number 1. Loki number 2 is a 6.5 out of 10. Groot number 3. Yandar and Groot fight to get to the matriarch tree while Mar-Vell battles Eggs. It moves the story along decently enough and the art in this is always great. A 7 out of 10. Spirit World number 3. Good action and an interesting meeting with the demon result in another quality issue. I'm coming around a little bit more on the art style, especially in this series. Spirit World number 3 is a 7.5 out of 10. That's it for July 12th, everybody. Next week, July 19th, we have just as big of a week, so let's check it out. Checking in with Night Terrors next week, we'll check in with Night Terrors Wonder Woman and Night Terrors Punchline. We also have Hawkgirl number 1 from DC, Tales of the Teen Titans number 1 from DC, a companion series to the Titans series, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles The Last Ronin The Lost Day number 1. This was supposed to come out a while ago. It's finally coming out. The Millar verses are all kind of converging into the big game with Image. I can't wait to check it out. Big Game number 1. We also have Scrapper number 1 coming out of Image Comics. I'm going to read Blade in the store and offer a review, but I am not a Blade fan, but we'll check it out. We have the Vigil number 3 with the We Are Legends DC line. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Street Fighter number 2. I missed the number 1, so I'm hoping they'll have the number 1 and we'll be able to review it next week. Dead Romans number 5. We're almost to the end of this. I will have a review for number 5 next week. Void Rivals number 2. The big reveal that this is the Cybertron universe was awesome, so let's see where Void Rivals is going next week. Deadpool Batter Blood number 2. That series has some of the best art I've seen. We'll be checking that out next week. Extreme Venomverse number 5. I think that's the final issue, and then we'll be moving into the end of the Venomverse. Guardians of the Galaxy number 4. Do we finally have Groot fall? Star Wars Dr. Aphra number 34. Again, we're not going to review that series until the very end. And last but not least is Spider-Gwen Shadow Clones number 5. We'll actually review the entire series next week. Quickly, I did want to check in and say I watched the first 2 episodes of My Adventures with Superman. I actually thought this was a really cool kind of anime style series. I'd give the first 2 episodes a 7.5 out of 10 and definitely encourage you to check it out if you're a Superman fan for sure. I also went and saw The Flash finally this week. The emotional aspects of the story involving Barry and his mom, they absolutely nailed, and I really dug some of the emotion in the movie. However, tonally, it was a little off in different points, and while there's a great joke with Batman at the very end of the movie, going for the joke there when you could have gone for something greater, huge mistake. The Flash was a 7 out of 10. We had a big week this week. We've got a big week next week. I'm Dustin Drive with the 2 Bird Stone at 2 Bird Stoned 815. Your bumbling guide to all this nonsense. Fade it to black. Hit the music.